Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Principal's Blog. This week we're focused on quite a sensitive topic, young carers. It's a topic that we've been focusing on at Thistley now for about a year, identifying our young carers and offering them as much support as we possibly can. It's not anything that somebody wants on their CV, however it is something that young people across our country, across the world, have thrust upon them. Young carers are generally those that have to do extra work for their family whenever they are outside of the school hours. And you'll hear from some of our staff who by choice have come forward to talk about their experiences. The reason they're doing that is to try and inspire other young carers to not be afraid and to come forward so they can work together and that the school and our community can support them as much as possible. It is really important to understand that some of the things that is said in this video might touch a nerve with some people, but I do encourage you to share this video, particularly those who are young carers or who have been. Thank you very much. Enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Miss Ingerfield Lapsey at Thistley Hough Academy and I'm the Young Carer Champion. This year we've been working really hard to support our existing young carers, but we do know there are more young carers out there for whatever reason haven't yet come forward. I'm hoping that by watching this video it might inspire some more of you to come forward.
Hello, you know me already, Noel Kennedy, Principal, and today I'm with Lewis Donald down in the CET headquarters. Lewis Donald is the Director of Safeguarding and we're talking about all things young carers. Lewis, can you tell me why young carers and the identification of them is so important for Creative Education Trust and for Thistley?
Thank you, Noel. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to come on your bulletin. It's really great to be able to speak to you. Well, look, firstly, I think young carers across society have a real hidden vulnerability, and I think that both as an organisation and sector, we've got a real both moral and ethical duty to both identify those that are young carers within their families, but also provide them with not just the support within school, but also the opportunities to access groups within the community, but also other young carers who, through some of the work that we've been doing across the Trust, and you have, I know, in Thistley Hough, created almost that peer mentor style model where that resilience levels have grown, but also the confidence is there as well to be able to share lived experiences and talk about the different approaches that they've had to being able to really enhance their own mental health and understanding about the role they play within the family.
And it's really important at Thistley, as we know from speaking to Miss Ingerfield Lapsey, that we've identified some more students. What do you think that the sort of positive things that we've done so far as a trust and as Thistley, what we've done so far in supporting these young people?
I think the first thing, quite frankly, is that we're in a position where we're able to identify young carers. We know that to identify a young carer, ultimately, the only way we can really do that is by someone coming forward themselves and identifying or self-recognising that they're taking on that caregiving role within the home. I think if we think about some of the things that you've done, particularly in Thistley Hough, it goes back to, again, what I was saying about a minute ago, creating those safe spaces for young carers to talk to one another, to speak to professionals, be that in school or through our external partners as well, to have access to some of the opportunities that their peers might be getting because they're not in that position where they have, again, that hidden vulnerability and lack of access at times to some of the extra curriculum opportunities that we give, but also some of those life opportunities such as simple as going to the cinema with them friends or going out in an evening to play football and sport. So I think the fact that we've identified this cohort is a really good first step, and the work that you're doing and we're doing across the Trust to give those pupils those opportunities is something we should absolutely carry on with and continue to grow.
And one of the things that we find is that the respite that some of the kids get just by meeting together on period 5 on a Friday is absolutely vital.
Absolutely.
Going to the cinema, we did that. Going to the theatre, they've done that. What do you think our next steps are as a trust?
I think we should always continue to promote the positive work that we're doing in this area, because it's only by promoting the good stuff that we're doing that it's going to encourage more and more young people, frankly, to see the opportunities that are there, to recognise the support groups available to them, and then to step forward themselves and say, do you know what, I think I might be in a position where I'm spending a bit more time with mum or dad or whoever they live at home with, helping cook meals or wash clothes or cooking for siblings. And I think it's by continuing to promote this good work we're going to increase the likelihood of identifying more and more young carers across our organisation.
Lovely. Thank you, and thank you very much.
Hi, Thistley Hough Academy. It's Nicole McCartney here. I'm the Director of Education at Creative Education Trust. So I'm Mr. Kennedy's boss. I'm really pleased to speak to you about something today because it's something I'm really passionate about, and that's young carers. So I was asked by your teachers to make this video for you because they know how passionate I am about young carers. So I was a young carer, obviously 500 years ago, because that's how old I am. But from the age of 7 until probably 6 or 7, 5, 6 or 7, until I moved out of the house. And what that meant for me was, because the phrase young carers wasn't a thing when I was a kid, but I had 2 parents who unfortunately had issues with alcohol and drug abuse. And my mother had a mental illness as well. And what it meant at that time for me was, as a very little girl, I had to take care of things around the house. I had to make sure that the house was safe and clean and that my mother was looked after, and sometimes she was not okay, and I had to make sure that she didn't light the house on fire with a cigarette, and I had to make sure that she ate when she didn't want to eat. And I had to do all kinds of stuff that sort of, I suppose, aren't usual for kids to do. And it was really hard because I would often have to sort of stay up and wait for them to get home from wherever they were until 2 or 3 in the morning on a school night, and then I would go to school the next day. And I was I ashamed? I suppose I was kind of ashamed to say anything, and I also was afraid that if I said why I was tired, because I was always hollered at because I was always late or tired, that my parents would get in trouble, and I didn't want them to get in trouble. So I didn't. So I just did it, and I dealt with it. And I think I would say 2 things. One, if I knew that the kind of help that you're being offered today, which is my assumption, existed back then, I would have taken it because I needed it, and I wouldn't have been afraid of it. And I think my message to you is, you may not want to share all the details of why you're a young carer, and that's okay. I think it's okay for you to say to the Thistley Hough staff, look, I do have extra responsibilities at home, and sometimes it's not very easy, and this is what would help me. And I think it's important you say that. I also think if there is any shame, and that takes care of the fear, I think. And I would also say, don't be ashamed, because families come in all shapes and sizes, and it is what it is, as they say where I come from. And I think more than that, I'm not entirely sure I'd be where I am today if I wasn't a young carer, because I'm a leader now. I lead people. I oversee 16 principals. And before that, I was a principal myself. And I think all of the skills that I learned as a young carer to take care of people, to organize, some of you will know what I mean by this and some of you won't. But the thing about, I was able to see, how are they feeling today? And that was always something. How is she doing today? Because my mother had the mental illness. Do I need to organize some things for her today? And I would call that sort of intuition, insight. But all of those things, when I was a kid, taught me leadership. And I think if you're a young carer, you are probably a leader in some way, shape, or form, because you have had to learn to be. So 2 messages from me. One is, take help if it's offered to you. Don't be frightened of it. You can say, look, I don't want to go into the details. I just want you to know I have extra responsibilities at home, and this is what I need, if you're more comfortable with that. And the second thing I would say to you is, I know it's really, really hard. I know that. I remember it well. But you do get something from that. Difficult things make us strong, whether or not it feels like it at the time. And I'm really, really pleased and proud that I did what I did and took care of them the way that I took care of them. And now I'm here, and I don't think I would be without that. So be brave.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to make this short video talking to you a little bit about my experience as a young carer. Most of you will know I was born and grew up in Bulgaria, and I had a really happy early childhood with my family. My dad my mum, my older brother. Then all of a sudden, just before I turned 12, that changed. My life changed. My father had a heart attack. He was only 42, and within 24 hours he passed away. So it was just me and my mum. My older brother moved to live far away, so I was left to live with my mum. My mum struggled a lot. She had health problems, money issues, and I had to help a lot. And I had to look after her the same as she had to look after me. Then when I was preparing, just 6 months before I was preparing for my exams, at the end of my obviously school time, my mum became really ill, and she was admitted in hospital. She was diagnosed with diabetes, which was quite advanced, and it actually affected her a lot. So during that time I had to look after my mum, go to hospital, cook for her, because the hospitals back in the 1980s in Bulgaria were not very good. So I had to do that. I had to go to school, I had to look after the house, and at the same time I had to prepare for my exams. It was difficult. I found it really hard. And there was another actually detail to that, is that in the 1980s again, in Bulgaria, there was no support for children like me. The schools, what they wanted from you was to do well, and that was it. They were not interested what happens at home. So I didn't get any support. I just had to get on with it. And I think what schools now in England and in general in England do, and the wider community, is great. The support young carers get is absolutely amazing. If I had that support back at the time when I was a young carer, I think knowing that these people, somebody does the same as me, or they're in the same situation as me, would have made it a little bit easier. So my message is, please, if you think you are a young carer, talk to someone. It will help you. It will make it easier for you, I promise. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria Malescu. I'm an EAL teacher assistant, and I've been a young carer. I used to look after my grandparents, both of them being old and disabled. My granddad had a massive issue with alcohol, and my grandma had a lot of health issues, like liver issues, and then she was unable to move for a while. I used to take care of the house. I was cooking. I take care of the farm. I take care of their personal care. And to be honest, I forgot about myself, because I cancel a lot of my free time and the things that make me happy, just to make sure they were safe and they have everything they need. I don't regret. I'm really proud of what I've done. My young care years teach me how to be more organized, how to look after myself, and teach me how to treat people around me and care about their feelings. And maybe this is an issue, but somehow I'm putting the others above me. And for me, it's very important to see people smiling and to know that you're happy, and to assure them that their mental health and well-being is important. And you know, I contribute for their well-being somehow. So if you are a young carer, come and join us. We have a lot of activities in the school, and it will be really nice if you will be part of our group.
Hi all, it's Miss Baldwin. I just wanted to do a little video to talk to you about my experience about being a young carer. So when I was 8 years old, my dad had a stroke, and I had 3 brothers and sisters at the time, and my mum was pregnant with my 4th sibling. My dad was in hospital for 3 months, which meant that between my mum and her maternity appointments, me and my older sister had to spend quite a lot of time looking after our younger brothers and sisters, meaning walking them to school, doing packed lunches, dinners, making sure the house was clean and tidy, and making sure they had their uniform and stuff. The older I got, the more responsibilities that I had, and I think that shaped me as a person. So I wouldn't be the person I am today without having had some of those responsibilities as a child. As hard as being a young carer is, I always found it really, really rewarding. So if there's anything that you feel like you want to talk to me about, or that we can, or you can resonate with, then please make sure you come and talk to me.
Hi there, it's Miss Ferns, and I just wanted to talk to you about my experience as a young carer. At the age of 11, my parents got a divorce, my dad moved out of the family home. It meant that my mum had to go and get another job to be able to support me and my sister as our family. She was earning quite a low income and therefore couldn't support us just with what she had. It meant that she had to, when she finished her job at 5 o'clock, she had to then go to another job and work till 11 at night. My sister was only 5 years old at the time, and it meant that I had to bath, feed, and make sure that my sister got to bed okay, and that lasted up until I was around 18 years old, when my mum then decided to quit the second job. I think my experience from being a young carer from age 11 and looking after my baby sister at the age of 5 up until she was around 12 years old, it has made me quite a resilient person. I'm really patient, but during my GCSEs and my A-levels especially, times to revise and to fit that in was quite difficult and challenging, but it did make me more time conscious and time aware, and gave me some really good management skills around that. So if anybody wants to come and talk to me about my experience as a young carer, then please come and find me.
Hello and welcome back here in the boardroom. We have seen some of our fantastic members of staff talk about their experiences as a young carer. If it has brought up any emotion, please speak to someone who is there for you. It may be a teacher, it may be a colleague at work, it may be a family member, it may even be your GP, it may be a charity like Action for Children, Bernardo's, to name a few. Please contact someone. Please don't be alone in this. Being a young carer is a tricky spot to be, but there's lots of people there to help you. Thank you very much.